a human warrior betrayed on a peace mission, a stolen alien medic with royal blood, and a galaxy that watches them fight for survival. Ronan Vale didn't come to the stars to become a slave, but now, he's the arena's deadliest champion, battling through blood and betrayal to save the one person who saw him as more than a weapon. Love is his reason, freedom is his goal, and the galaxy? It's about to learn what one human will do when everything he cares for is taken. If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. Ronan Vale woke up to the sharp sting of pain running down the side of his face. His head throbbed, and warm blood trickled past his brow. Cold metal cuffs bit into his wrists, locking him to the bench of a dark, humming transport vessel. Around him, a dozen others from the human delegation sat or lay slumped in silence. Some moaned quietly. Others stared blankly into space. Their uniforms were torn, skin bruised, hope already fading from their eyes. He tried to remember the last moment of normalcy, an assignment as part of Earth's diplomatic mission to the Council of Duranth, a group of advanced alien nations, supposedly seeking peace. It had been meant as a bridge-building mission. No weapons, no threats, just conversation. But now, here he was, a prisoner. The mission had been a trap. "Do you think they'll kill us?" whispered Marin, a young translator, her voice shaking. Ronan looked over at her. She couldn't have been more than 20. He answered quietly, "If they wanted us dead, we'd already be gone." His voice was steady, even if his own thoughts weren't. He was trying to think 2 steps ahead. There had to be a reason they were being kept alive. The ship jolted as it docked, the metallic clank vibrating through Ronan's spine. The transport doors hissed open, releasing a wave of cool, dry air that smelled faintly of rust and chemicals. 2 alien guards entered. They were tall, with pale green skin and black eyes that held no warmth. Their armor was heavy, their movements slow but deliberate. One pointed a glowing baton at Ronan. "Move," it barked in a strange, flat voice. Ronan stood, ignoring the ache in his ribs. He scanned the area, noting the shape of the corridor beyond, the rhythm of the ship's systems, the positions of cameras. His military training took over. Gather information, stay alert, wait for the right moment. They were marched through long, curved hallways that pulsed with dim blue light. The architecture was strange, organic in shape, like the walls had grown rather than been built. They passed rooms full of machinery, alien beings of all shapes and colors, and cages, actual cages. The more they walked, the clearer the truth became. This place was not a prison. It was a market. The group stopped before a large chamber. Voice echoed through the space as a figure approached them. She was tall and slender, with a shimmering coat of silver blue skin and wide, unblinking violet eyes. Her voice was smooth, but there was no kindness in it. "I am Vera," she said. "You are now the property of the Talukar Arena Authority. You will be sorted. Those useful will fight. The rest will serve in other ways." "Arena?" Ronan asked, frowning. "Yes," she answered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Where thousands across the stars come to watch warriors battle, the blood sport of the galaxy." Marin cried out, "We're ambassadors. You can't do this. We're protected." Vera's eyes narrowed. She raised her baton and struck Marin hard across the face. The young woman collapsed, groaning. "Your status means nothing here. This is Talukar space. Here, strength decides fate." The group was separated. Ronan was taken alone down another hallway, deeper underground to a smaller chamber lit with sterile white lights. The air was sharp with the scent of medicine and disinfectant. Inside were several medical staff, aliens with various tools scanning and noting information. One looked up as he entered. She was unlike the others. She had soft lavender-colored skin, short silver hair tied back behind her ears, and a focused expression. Her eyes were bright, a strange mix of gray and blue. She held a scanning device in her hand and didn't flinch when Ronan met her gaze. "This is the human fighter," one of the guards said. He's got military coding in his DNA, high combat potential. She nodded and gestured to the table. Remove his restraints. As they were taken off, Ronan rubbed his sore wrists. He didn't move toward the table right away. You're a doctor? He asked. The woman replied calmly. A medic. My name is Nerea. I prepare new arena candidates for testing. You'll be examined for injuries, physical condition, and genetic markers. Do not resist. Ronan climbed onto the table. What happens if I fail? You die quickly, she said without emotion. Or you become someone else's problem. Her touch was clinical but careful. As she scanned his body, checking his pulse, muscles, and bone density, Ronan studied her. She looked tired. And behind the professionalism, he sensed something else. Sadness, maybe even guilt. Do you ever help people escape? He asked quietly. Nerea paused. No one escapes the Talukar arena. But you don't belong here, he said, watching her closely. She didn't answer. Instead, she applied a cold gel to a cut near his temple. It numbed the skin instantly. You've suffered a blow to the head, she said softly. Multiple bruised ribs, old scar tissue from previous injuries. You've survived a lot. I plan to survive a bit more, Ronan replied, eyes locked on hers. She held his gaze for a moment longer than necessary. Then she handed a small vial to one of the guards and noted something on her tablet. He'll be ready for evaluation tomorrow, she announced. As the guards escorted him away, Ronan glanced back one last time. Nerea hadn't moved, but as the door slid shut, he thought he saw her eyes follow him. He didn't know if she was friend or foe, but she was the first being in this strange new world who hadn't treated him like property. And that made her matter. The roar of the crowd echoed through the arena as Ronan Vale stepped into the sand-covered pit. The alien sun beat down through the open dome, baking the stone walls and making the air shimmer with heat. Across from him stood a towering creature with thick gray skin, tusks jutting from its lower jaw, and arms as thick as Ronan's legs. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers, naming Ronan as the human challenger, followed by a string of alien words he didn't understand. None of it mattered. All he cared about was staying alive. The fight began without warning. The creature charged, swinging a massive club made from some kind of alien bone. Ronan barely dodged, rolling through the sand and coming up behind his enemy. He struck hard at the creature's side, but it was like hitting a wall. The beast spun and slammed him into the ground with its elbow. Pain shot through Ronan's shoulder. The crowd cheered wildly, but Ronan wasn't done. He waited for the creature to raise its weapon again, then dove low, catching its leg and knocking it off balance. As it fell, he drove a sharpened shard of stone he'd hidden in his boot into the creature's neck. It howled, flailing, but the damage was done. Seconds later, it was still. The match was over. The crowd erupted into thunderous noise. Some cheered, others jeered, but Ronan didn't care. He was breathing. He was standing. He had survived his first real match. Later, in the medical bay, Nerea treated his wounds in silence. She applied a blue gel to the bruise on his shoulder and wrapped gauze around a gash on his side. Her hands moved with gentle precision. Ronan watched her face as she worked, searching for any sign of what she thought of him. Was he just another fighter to her? You told me no one escapes, he said, voice low. But that's not true, is it? Nerea didn't look up. No one has ever succeeded. That's not the same thing. She hesitated, then said softly, You're not like the others. Ronan leaned closer. Then help me. I need to know where they took the rest of the crew, where they took Marin. Nerea's hands paused. Her voice was barely a whisper. The lower levels. Some were sold. Some sent to research facilities. Why? I don't know. But I think they're choosing people with certain genetic traits. She glanced around, making sure no guards were near. Then she slipped something into his palm. A small black chip no bigger than a fingernail. It's a map. Shows restricted areas. Don't let them find it. Before he could say more, a guard entered, and Nerea quickly stepped back. He's Clear for training, she said formally. Ronan tucked the chip into a hidden pocket and left without another word. Over the next few days, Ronan fought again and again. Each battle was harder than the last. He faced insectoid creatures with blades for arms, armored beasts with razor-sharp teeth, and even a machine-enhanced warrior that nearly killed him. But he kept winning, not because he was the strongest, but because he learned faster, thought quicker, and refused to die. In between matches, he studied the map Nerea had given him. Late at night, in the silence of his cell, he memorized the paths. He learned the times of the guard rotations and the structure of the security systems. Bit by bit, he started forming a plan. Then came the news that changed everything. One evening, as he limped into the medical bay, he was met not by Nerea, but by a different medic, a quiet, short alien with golden eyes. Ronan's heart dropped. "Where's Nerea?" he asked quickly. The medic didn't meet his eyes. "Transferred." "Where?" "I don't know. She was taken off station this morning." Ronan's blood turned cold. He grabbed the alien's arm. "Please, tell me." The medic lowered his voice. "I heard she's being sent to a secure facility on Joris. That's where they take the high-value ones." "Why would they take her?" The medic paused. "Some say she's not just a medic, that her family was once part of the ruling class on her homeworld. If that's true, they'll use her for more than healing." Ronan let go, heart pounding with a mix of fear and anger. He had waited too long. He thought he had time to plan, to gather information. Now she was gone, and he didn't know if he would ever see her again. That night, Ronan didn't sleep. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his cell, fists clenched. Nerea had risked everything to help him. She had trusted him. Now it was his turn. He would survive whatever they threw at him. He would win every match, gain every privilege, climb to the top of the arena rankings if he had to. And when he got out, he would find her. He didn't know what Joris was. He didn't know what they planned to do to her. But one thing was certain. He wasn't leaving this world without her. Ronan Vale stood alone in the center of the arena, his chest rising and falling with each deep breath. Blood, sweat, and sand clung to his body like armor. Across from him, the last opponent of the day groaned on the ground, defeated. The announcer's voice echoed once again through the massive stadium, calling him the unbreakable human. The crowd, once doubtful of him, now roared with excitement. They had watched him bleed, stumble, and survive. Match after match, Ronan had done what no human had ever done before. He had become a favorite. Back in the preparation chamber, the guards no longer barked orders at him. They gave him space, a cautious respect growing behind their eyes. He had earned something rare. Fear. Not just from the crowd, but from the arena's overseers. He was no longer seen as a pawn. He was a risk, and he planned to use that. That night, in the quiet of his cell, Ronan accessed the stolen map again. Nerea's chip had been more valuable than she probably realized. He'd found secret tunnels, hidden exits, even data logs about scheduled off-world transports. But it wasn't enough. To reach her, he needed to leave the station, and for that, he had to win something even more precious than glory: freedom. After his 12th win, Ronan stood before the arena commissioner, a sharp-featured alien with long robes and unreadable eyes. "You've earned a request," the commissioner said, voice cold. "What is it you want, human?" "I want a challenge match," Ronan said, steady and direct, "against a ranked fighter. If I win, I want transport off this station." There was a long pause. Then a slow smile crossed the commissioner's face. "You'll have it, but choose carefully. This is not survival. This is legacy." 2 days later, Ronan faced his toughest opponent yet. The fighter was a legend, a four-armed brute named Gorath, unbeaten for nearly 2 years. The match was brutal. Every strike rattled Ronan's bones. Every moment stretched the limit of his endurance. But in the end, Ronan's speed and cunning won out. He dodged the final blow and drove a blade into the side of Gorath's neck. The giant fell with a thud that silenced the crowd. Ronan didn't celebrate. He just stood breathing hard until the commissioner raised a hand. "You've done the impossible, human," he said. "You will have your ship. But remember, freedom is not the same as peace." Over the next 3 days, Ronan prepared for departure. He was allowed to select a small crew, under the condition that they be willing volunteers. Most fighters refused. They had no interest in risking more than the arena required, but 3 stepped forward. First was Tehran, a silent feline warrior Ronan had once spared in a group match. He didn't speak much, but his loyalty was clear. Second was Beverick, a thin insectoid alien with sharp eyes and unmatched skill with technology. The third was Jexa, a quiet female from the water world of Rin, known for her speed and adaptability. Together, the 4 of them left the arena station under cover of darkness. Their stolen ship was old, but fast. Beverick hacked the navigation system and erased their destination from the records. Ronan only had one goal: Joris, the fortress world where Nerea had been taken. Their journey wasn't smooth. The galaxy wasn't kind to runaways, especially those fleeing from powerful systems like the Talakar Arena. They avoided patrol ships, dodged sensor scans, and refueled at backwater ports where questions were dangerous. Every night Ronan checked the maps, studied the patterns, and wondered if he was already too late. On the 6th day, as they approached Joris, Beverick picked up a transmission. It was weak, nearly buried in background noise, but Ronan recognized the voice instantly. It was Nerea. "Held in Sector 9. Not much time. They want my genetics." The message ended in static. The crew exchanged glances. There was no turning back. Joris was a planet covered in jagged mountains and metal towers. The skies were gray, filled with transport drones and fighter ships. The fortress was built into the side of a cliff, surrounded by electric barriers and patrolled by sentries. Ronan didn't wait. Using his military training, he led his team through the outer forest, sneaking past patrol drones and disabling sensors. Tehran moved like a shadow, silent and unseen. Jexa swam through underground water pipes to access the internal systems. Beverick hacked into the fortress layout and guided them toward the research lab where Nerea was being kept. They found her inside a sterile white room, strapped to a cold examination table, unconscious. Ronan's heart froze. He rushed to her, sighed, and checked her pulse. Still alive, but barely. He lifted her gently into his arms, her skin cool against his. She stirred, eyes opening just slightly. "Ronan, you came." "I always would," he whispered, holding her close. Alarms blared. They had been discovered. Guards poured into the halls. The escape was chaos, flashes of light, smoke, and yelling. Beverick overloaded the lights while Tehran and Jexa held the path open. They reached the ship just as enemy fire rained down. As the engines ignited and the ship lifted off, Ronan looked down at Nerea resting in his arms. She was safe, for now. The road to freedom had not ended. It had only just begun. Ronan Vale stared out at the stars through the ship's narrow viewing panel, his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Nerea lay in the medbay behind him, resting and healing, but her capture had taken more from her than just strength. She had been moments away from a forced genetic bond, a process Ronan barely understood but knew would have turned her into a prisoner inside her own body. She'd smiled weakly when he rescued her, but the fear in her eyes hadn't faded. It haunted him. And now, even after escaping Joris, they were not safe. The man behind it all, High Commander Drexel, still held power across the sector. He had ordered Nerea's abduction, he had plans for her lineage, and he wasn't finished. Beverick's voice crackled through the intercom. "Intercepted a transmission. Drexel knows we're alive. He's called for a blockade around the core systems. We'll have to go dark if we want to reach the neutral zone." Ronan turned away from the stars. "We're not hiding," he said. "We're going to end this." In the days that followed, Ronan and his crew pieced together what they could. Beverick used stolen data to locate Drexel's private compound on the volcanic moon of Kryven, an isolated fortress with heavy security. but not invincible. Drexel was planning something, more than just control of Nerea. He wanted to use her DNA, her royal bloodline, to create a new ruling class under his name. Nerea, still weak but growing, stronger, insisted they act before he could vanish again. "If we wait," she told Ronan, "he'll disappear into the shadows and build something worse. I won't be used to start another empire." "You won't be," Ronan replied, taking her hand. "We finish it. Together." The plan was dangerous. They would approach Criven during a supply delivery, using a disguised shuttle and false credentials pulled from Beveric's stolen database. Once inside, they would split up. Beveric and Jexa would disable the communications grid and security systems, while Ronan and Nerea made their way to the central chamber to confront Drexel. It wasn't a plan built for safety. It was a plan built for speed. Criven's surface was cracked and burned, rivers of lava glowing beneath black stone. The fortress stood like a tower of glass and iron in the middle of it all. As they landed, Ronan felt the familiar tightness in his chest. It wasn't fear of failure. It was fear of losing her again. But Nerea walked beside him, her back straight, her face calm. Whatever weakness had remained after her capture was gone now. She wasn't just a medic, she was a survivor. Inside the compound, the team moved quickly. Beveric's voice guided them through the hallways. 2 guards ahead. "They're looping around. Go now." The halls were lined with gray panels and humming lights. The air smelled like scorched metal. Every second mattered. They reached the central chamber without being seen. The tall doors were guarded by 2 armored soldiers. Ronan took the first down with a silent strike, and Nerea stunned the second with a small pulse device she had hidden beneath her cloak. Together, they pushed into the chamber. Drexel stood at the far end of the room, watching a projection of the galaxy. He turned as they entered, a slow smile spreading across his face. He was taller than Ronan remembered, his skin like polished stone, his eyes cold and sharp. "I expected you," he said calmly, "but not both of you." "You tried to take her," Ronan said. "You lost that chance." Drexel gestured toward the control panels around the room. "I haven't lost anything yet. The process was only delayed. Her bloodline, her genes, they can rebuild everything. I don't need her to agree." "You'll never use her," Ronan said, stepping forward. Drexel moved suddenly, faster than expected. He drew a long plasma blade from his belt and slashed at Ronan. The room lit with the hiss of energy. Ronan ducked, dodging the first strike, and countered with a stun baton. The two clashed in the center of the room, trading blows in a deadly dance of light and steel. Nerea watched for an opening, her hands on a pulse grenade she had taken from the guards. Drexel pushed Ronan back and raised his blade to strike. That's when Nerea moved. She threw the grenade, and it detonated with a flash of light, sending Drexel stumbling. Ronan didn't hesitate. He drove his weapon into Drexel's side, forcing him to the ground. "It's over," he said. Drexel, gasping, tried to rise. "You think this ends with me?" Ronan looked down at him. "No, but it starts with you." He left the blade where it was. Moments later, Yexa's voice came over the comm. "Security's down. We have full control." The team regrouped and uploaded all the stolen files from Drexel's systems to the Neutral Council. Evidence of his crimes, of the illegal experiments, of the abductions. It was over. The fortress was taken, and Nerea was finally free from the shadow of her past. That night, back on their ship, Ronan and Nerea stood together under the stars. She rested her head on his shoulder, her violet eyes soft. "You never gave up," she whispered. "I couldn't," Ronan replied. "You were worth every fight." As the stars stretched before them, and the ship sailed into peace, Ronan knew the battle was done. What lay ahead was uncertain, but they would face it, together.